Do, do, do. Welcome. I believe that we are live for a demo of TechIDManager. There are plenty of demos on YouTube of me doing this, and you can see all kinds of discussion about it. You can see me logging into machines. You can see some real specific details on it. So we're going to do something a little bit different this time. We are going to talk more abstractly about privileged account management for specifically MSPs, and we're going to talk specifically about some of the cybersecurity requirements that MSPs are facing that they might not be aware they're facing, that are really going to come down hard and that they need to be aware of, and how TechIDManager can specifically address the niche of privileged account management for MSPs. Can also do privileged account management for enterprises. Anywhere where you have some number of technicians need access to some number of domains, local machines, intra-ID tenants, Mac machines, whatever it is, we can do account management and control for vast numbers of people over vast spaces. That's what we're going to talk about today. It's a little bit different than our normal demos. Normal demos, I'll bring up the tech client. I'll talk real specifically about how you use it, how a technician uses it to log in, and how just-in-time accounts work, things like that. I'll still bring it up a little bit, and I will still talk about those things. But I'm going to start with a more high-level discussion about Cyber Essentials, SOC 2, HIPAA, PCI, CMMC, NIST, those type of things. All of those cybersecurity frameworks say something along the lines of you need traceability and accountability. It comes in a variety of different verbiages. Everything from every person must have a unique account, unique actions must be traceable to a unique person, and a lot of people read these requirements, and as a good talk I once saw by 𝗂𝗏, she said that like a lot of these requirements don't translate to plain English for the majority of people. So we'll take that in and expand on a little bit. All those requirements that say, accounts have to be traceable, actionable and traceable, unique user identifier must be created and tracked for each individual person. All of those are really some pretty fancy ways of saying when, for applied to an MSP, when an MSP technician or an IT admin accesses a system, they need to do so with an account that has their name on it. This means that if your IT company has 25 people or 50 people, then you need to make that many accounts everywhere that those people need access. There are lots of ways you can do that. I worked on MSP for about 12 years. We saw this problem firsthand. It is a completely untenable problem if you try to address it manually. So you need tools, you need automation. And I have seen all levels of automation when it comes to this, and all levels of justification for how someone achieves accountability and traceability with other tools, with other homegrown ad hoc mechanisms. I have seen things from a shared account with one password that's used everywhere. One account name, one password used everywhere. And the MSP claims that they get their traceability and accountability because the technician has to fill out a ticket when they do work at a client site. So their process and their policies around accountability come down to the person doing the thing has to write the thing down in a separate system. There is no direct traceability, that's indirect traceability. And it doesn't give you traceability, it doesn't give you accountability. It also has issues that if that account password does get breached and someone, a bad actor, a malicious hacker or something like that, when they get that username and password and they gain access to a client, that account usage is not traceable because you're coming in at the individual client infrastructure, not through the normal mechanisms of access. Be it the RMM, be it the password vault, be it something like that. Because a bad actor used RDP on site or sat down in front of a machine and typed in the username and password, you don't get that accountability and traceability. So those processes that say you have to fill in the ticket, and that's where accountability and traceability comes from, don't really meet the requirements, and they'll fail in an audit. Another thing that I have seen is password managers used as the mechanism for doing that auditing and logging and tracing. So the admin account password is in a password manager. Every technician has access to this password manager. When a technician looks at the password in that password vault, that access is logged, and it is assumed that then that technician is the next one to use that password on the site. This has also several holes in it. It has that holes that people should be assumed to have photographic memory. Because we have pencils, we have paper, we have cell phones, we can take pictures. All information can be remembered forever. So between the time that that technician saw that password and it changes, which might be a month, might be years, you can't distinguish between two technicians that looked at the same account, same password. You can't distinguish who did it. You are better than the previous example, but you're not correct, and that will still fail an audit because somebody can remember it. I have seen yet more examples where an MSP will say, well, our technicians use an RMM like ConnectWise or Ninja or whatever, some remote connection tool to connect to the machines. And when they connect, we are logging who connected to the machine. This is one step better, but yet it still falls down in lots of situations. If someone goes on site, if a machine that is broken is brought in and somebody logs into it in front of it physically, if a different remote access mechanism is involved and not the standard one, which lots of MSPs I've seen have multiple access mechanisms, or some I've seen technicians install their own access mechanisms because the ones provided by the MSP are too burdensome or too aggravated, or they'll even provide, I've seen, different remote access tools provided, one for the user to access their own machine remotely and one for the MSP technician to access the machine. So you now have multiple remote access mechanisms, and you can't get traceability by looking at only one point where you're coming in, because there are multiple points you can come in. I would love to draw some pictures about this instead of just talking about it, but I didn't think about it, so I didn't. I've also seen big lists of passwords in Excel spreadsheets, and people are supposed to put their name beside it when they check it out. Again, this comes back to policies, and like depending on the technician to do the right thing at the right time doesn't really gain you traceability and accountability. What is needed is an account per person, so that no matter the login mechanism, when they get to the authentication on the client network, whether it's sitting on the keyboard, whether it's RDP, whether it's the remote connection tool of choice by the MSP, whether it's some other remote connection mechanism, mapping a drive to a server, anything, all of that should be traceable to an individual with a name. And the only way that you can do that is with uniquely named accounts for each technician. That is what's required to meet any of the cybersecurity frameworks. Cyber Essentials in the UK, Cyber 7 in Australia, I believe it's called, SOC, whatever. It is so eminently straightforward, but that's where it becomes a problem. It's eminently straightforward to do, just make everybody their own account. The scale at which MSPs work makes that a problem. If you have, as an MSP, if you have 2 technicians and 10 clients, that's 20 accounts you need to make. If as an MSP you have 10 technicians and 300 clients, it's 3,000 accounts to make. If you, as you grow as an MSP, if you have 25 technicians and you have 500 clients, that's more than 10,000 accounts to create and maintain just for domain accounts. Now when you need access to individual machines, it just explodes the number of accounts that you have to make and maintain to get the traceability that's required when you are on the right side of an event and you are in the wrong side of an event and you're looking back and like, what happened here? Who did this? And a big point about an event or a breach or a hack, if you have uniquely named accounts and you are doing the basic account maintenance of rotating passwords on a regular basis, stolen drives that have password files on them can't be taken offline and hacked and then the password used later. By doing that simple thing of rotating a password on a regular, frequent basis, you eliminate so many vectors of attack that it's just irresponsible to do anything else. I've heard a lot of technicians, a lot of MSPs say, well, there's guidance that says you shouldn't rotate your passwords. This is a personal gripe of mine. I'm going to step on my little soapbox, as my wife calls it. That article and that whole guidance about not rotating passwords is that based on the psychology of humans, you should not force a person to rotate a password on a regular basis because the person will make insecure passwords that are patterned and easy to remember for themselves. That article, that series of advice, says absolutely nothing about machine-created, machine-remembered passwords that are looked up in a password vault. It actually, in the conclusion, says that it is more secure to rotate passwords on a frequent, regular basis from an access or hacker or a vectors of attack perspective. It is the psychology of personal interactions with remembered information or secret information like passwords that says you should not rotate passwords, not force individuals to rotate passwords, which is very different. To protect admin accounts, especially rarely used ones for individuals, you should both rotate the password, and based on your need to access the machine in emergency situations or a lack of internet situations, you can use just-in-time accounts or managed accounts for that. And that's really up to you and your policy procedures for that. That's a lot of words, a lot of discussion around. When you start looking at actual cybersecurity and actual compliance and the things you need to do around security that are compliance-based, it is important to make unique accounts and rotate passwords. It is so mundane, so basic, so core and fundamental that a lot of the MSPs that I've talked to and seen that we now work with, we're trying to make all these fancy get-around requirements, all these policies and procedures to prevent them, to alleviate them from having to do this real basic security stuff. Once they've seen TechIDManager, it is obvious that the right way to do it is the basic mundane way, just automated. So that's what TechIDManager does. We automate everything around privileged account management. Automate creating unique accounts when needed. We automate just-in-time access to those accounts if needed. We automate managed accounts. We automate password rotations. We automate rights settings on those accounts. We automate everything around it. And we do this in a vendor-safe way. When I first started Ruffian Software, when I founded this company, we wrote TechIDManager. I looked at the vectors of attack for privileged accounts and having, as some vendors do, a giant list of passwords that's readable by them is just wrong. It's something that I refuse to do for our company. We only use asymmetric encryption and zero visibility storage for all the credentials, the hundreds of millions of passwords that pass through our system and that we store for companies around the world. We do that such that we can guarantee we can't see those credentials, which is a huge step toward vendor vulnerability management, which is something as an MSP you should be doing. You should be looking at your vendors. There was a vendor recently, very high profile incident where they had a security issue that was brought to them and they refused to look at it. So then the issue was shown to the world, and now all of a sudden there's this huge scrambling going on. This is because the first person that actually did vendor management in depth on that vendor found an issue and exposed a huge weak link. I have friends in the MSP industry who are still dealing with that link months, that vulnerability months after it occurred. If you're in the MSP space, you should know what I'm talking about. If not, you should look it up. It has to do with certificates and code signing, and it's pretty interesting problem. So that's what TechIDManager does in detail. In broad stroke, we do privileged account management for MSPs on an asymmetric zero visibility storage foundation that makes us as vendor safe as possible. Vendor safe, totally. And we add a lot of those features around privileged account management that are specific to MSPs. Organization, cross-tenant application of rights, instant 1-minute disabling of a technician's access, so that if you have a technician that leaves or gets fired or is a bad actor in some way, you can revoke all of their access with one button click in under a minute. We've done things like adding MFA. We've do a lot of domain accounts, individual Windows machine accounts, Entra ID accounts. We recently added a Mac agent so we can make and control Mac accounts. We are adding a Linux agent soon. Oh, I wasn't supposed to say that. Oosh. There's another series of agents coming to do all types of other accounts. We have a very modular build, and we are going to be releasing agents that do a wide variety of account management and maintenance, such as MSPs need. So that's kind of the broad stroke. The organization, let's overlay this here and look. This is to get to the actual demo portion of this. This is the tech client. TechIDManager, I was talking about that modular architecture, looks like this. There is a client that runs on the technician's computer, which has the private key for that asymmetric encryption I was talking about, which makes us vendor safe. There's a portal that can be hosted in AWS or can be self-hosted by you. This is where all of the data is stored, all the privileged management data, privileged account data, stored but encrypted so that nobody who has access to the portal can read it. It's important that this can be hosted by you. We have servers in lots of different countries, but if you have some requirement or you just want to be self-hosted and in charge of that data, you can be. We also have a series of agents that run and actually make and maintain all these accounts automatically. We have them for domain controllers, Entra ID, local. We have them for Macintosh, Apple computers. There are more agents coming to expand our footprint of account management throughout everything that an MSP needs. This is the tech client. This is the piece of software the technician uses. And you can see here the different types of accounts that they can have access to, and these icons indicate those different types. You can see here Apple accounts, domain accounts, individual Windows computers accounts. I did that whole discussion about unique accounts for every person. That is the ivory tower. That is the ideal. That is the way that it should be. If you are an MSP and you are concerned about security, you should make everybody their own account, and that's the way it should be. Same thing in an enterprise. If someone needs access to something, they should have an account on that something. They should have rights that are specific to them. That's the way it should be. In the real world, as I yell at everyone from my ivory tower, I 100% recognize the need for shared accounts. There are licensing reasons. There are technological reasons. There are business reasons why you sometimes have to have a shared account. Some of those licensing reasons, if you are running an older Windows server like a SBS and you have 25 licenses available and you have 30 technicians at your MSP supporting a small business, you can't have 30 unique admin accounts all enabled at the same time. In that particular case, you could use just-in-time to only enable the ones that are necessary, but that is really gray area on the licensing with Microsoft. So are shared accounts on older servers, gray area with Microsoft. But we support a shared admin account that we can take over, log and trace who sees it, and enable it and rotate the password on it. That's what the shared icon is. We can do that for any of our agents. We can also do the just-in-time ones. There are technological reasons why you sometimes have to use a shared account. There's older software that when it runs on a server can only run under one account, and whoever's maintaining that software, whatever group of people, all need to log on as that one account to maintain it. Eaglesoft is a dental management practice software that requires one account to be logged on automatically to the server that starts their server process automatically. It's older software. It is a technological limitation of that software that you can't log in as different users to that machine, so a shared account is required. We support that. We also support auto log on password rotation for both kiosk and that type of server that has to have an account logged in to run something. We can rotate the password on an auto logged in account and change the auto log on entry for it on that machine. It's just one of the myriad of things that we don't often talk about that's related to privileged account management, a small detail that we can handle and do. We can do service accounts like that, all that kind of stuff. There are also business reasons. Beyond the technological reasons, there are business reasons why you need or want to have shared accounts. There's test equipment. One of our partners has test equipment that runs for multiple months at a time, recording data and then transferring it off somewhere else. This test equipment is custom to them and it needs a user interface to run, and different users at different times during the 24/7 that it's running need to walk up, log on to the machine, check to make sure the test is still running appropriately, and then either make changes or not make changes or do something with this test. That is a business case where your internal business software for testing needs one account logged in. We support that with shared accounts, and we support that for both administrative accounts and non-administrative accounts. This BS test account on desktop 𝗤𝗵𝗶𝗴2 is an account that is used just to log on and check some stuff that's being tested on this desktop machine. We do privileged account management for MSPs in a wide variety of ways. Our agents are highly configurable. Our client is very secure and easy to use. There's a lot of organization in here. And as an MSP, this will satisfy your needs for privileged account management. If it doesn't, check it out, do a demo, come to us and say, hey, we would like it to also do this thing. And we will make it also do that thing. We have an open REST API. So if we look at, on our website, if you go to how-to articles and you search for C# or examples or something like that, there are several API usage examples, like this one for the activity report. This is a C# example that gets the activity log report from your server or your instance server of TechIDManager and lets you do whatever you want with it. This API is open to you with proper authentication and proper keys to let you do anything in TechIDManager that you can envision doing. You can tie it to technician and enabling and disabling in other systems with this example here. There are so many wide variety of things that you can take TechIDManager and expand it to do. Because we are developer-founded, technologically based company, we make all of those things super easy and accessible. There is a community of developers, both internal and external, that have built things on and around TechIDManager. There's been Duo integrations. There's been outside authentication source integrations. We are adding agents via the open API that we have. People have pen tested it, vulnerability tested it. It is a community-wide effort of development and moving forward. So when you have a desire for TechIDManager to let us know and we can make it happen. So we're nearing how long we like to keep these demos at. Between 20 and 30 minutes, and we're like 20 and a half minutes long, 25 minutes long right now about. We've talked a lot about compliance and security, and this might look like just any password manager. There is a password manager and even a shareable password manager based on the same zero visibility encryption that the rest of our storage is based on. But this particular tab, the manage passwords, all of these accounts were made by TechIDManager with automatic password rotation on all of them. And we even do just-in-time account stuff. So like this account, when I want to use it, I tell it to enable, and sometime in the next 60 seconds, that account will enable, writes provision to it as necessary, password set on, encrypted and sent back so that just I can see it. We do that just-in-time account management for any type of account that you want, whether it is unique or shared, whether it's an Entra on a Mac, on a Windows machine, wherever it is. We make and do all of that. All right? So that's kind of where we are, what we are for today. If you have any questions, we would love to hear from you. You can put them in the comments down below and we will answer them. Or you can go to ruffiansoftware.com. Right on our homepage in the top right corner, you can schedule a demo. Pick a time to come do a demo with us one-on-one, and we will answer all of your questions about TechIDManager and show you everything that you can possibly want to see about privileged account management for managed service providers or on our enterprise where lots of people need access to lots of different things. All right. Hope you all have a great day. Come check out ruffiansoftware.com or techidmanager.com, and we will talk to you all later.